Good afternoon, everyone. White reindeer in Norway born. Strange story, this size hail killed 18 cows. But this type and this much of hail decimated crops across Western Australia, potato shortages, USA, Europe, Canada. And all the weather changes somehow just never make it into the governmental discussions on why the climate is shifting. Somehow, this yellow thing called our star has no effect in its magnetic field on our magnetic fields as they try to bend reality with distorted illusion. And during these uncertain times, I've teamed up with my Patriot Supply long-term food storage. A nice, affordable starter kit, 2-week food supply, 1,500 calories per day, breakfast, lunch, and dinners, plus the 4-gallon storage containers included in that. This is a good first step in getting more self-sufficient. And if you click through the Prepare with Adapt 2030 page in My Patriot Supply, you can get this starter kit for $75. Please remember there's a limit of 2 per household in this special offer. And following on the double-headed goat that was born, taking media coverage across the Middle East, here we go, Norway. A white reindeer, another sign of the times. Now this is 2 specific demarcations in history of signs to look for as these massive changes pervade our planet in 2 different cultures in the same week. That's really interesting. Now down in South Africa, take a look at these supercells. It wasn't just one. Apparently there was 4 or 5 in a row like this. I wish I could have been up in an airplane somewhere trying to take a look at all of these passing through. But the largest hail that they saw was this size, at least in photos. This is the largest hail that they accumulated. Still pretty big. That's going to smash windows. It's going to smash houses, cars, dent everything. But these 18 cows supposedly were killed by this hail. So for myself, I'm going to check this right here and say, was that a lightning strike or was that actual hail that damaged the animals? Although you can see their skins ruptured. I mean, actual rips through the hides of cows. Now you need to understand how thick leather is. If something coming from the sky is able to rip through a cow's skin down to the muscle, I linked everything below so you can chase down the stories and come to your own conclusion. I'm just trying to give you the information. You can make your own conclusion, whether you agree or disagree. That's why I do the channel. I want to bring you my thoughts and ideas. It's up to you, as a listener, as the viewer, to decide if this is correct for you. So please come to your own conclusions without relying on anybody else what to tell you is true or false. Take 2, A and B, and compare it and come up with your own thoughts and ideas of what is true at this moment. Now down in Western Australia, a couple inches of hail, and this is how much they were scooping off the crops. You have to realize this was a wheat field right here where they're scooping through. And I also outlined in blue, they said the farmers were protected by insurance financially. So keep that in mind as we move up to Canada as well. Area here, Western Australia pinned for you so you can see the damage. Jumping over to tropical tidbits, knowing the location, I thought, all right, I'll just match the time with the event. Hot and cold. I was wondering if that would be a thing before I even typed into the browser bar. Here we are. Extreme cold to the west, extreme heat to the east. You see that white line running through there? That's where the damage was. So as our magnetosphere starts to weaken further and our jet streams go even more out of kilter, this is going to be the new norm. So I'm going to take you from the southern hemisphere way up here into Canada. Northern hemisphere potato shortages loom due to harvest from hell. Maybe AC/DC could do a new song about that. Harvest from hell. So the article continues. Farmers abandoned 16,000 acres of potatoes. They talked about delayed end of the harvest season due to unusual rains at the end of the harvest season, where it should have been dry where they could easily harvest, but they couldn't. But then after it rained, a significant cold front rolled through and then froze the ground, killing off everything that was in the ground. So when you're talking about root and tuber crops, well, Grand Solar Minimum's really throwing a few curveballs in here. And I'll bring you up to the first paragraph again, some type of insurance to cover the portion of their cost. Now, we saw the same exact thing talked about in Australia, and we've seen massive crop losses and insurance payouts in the US, Canada, Australia, Europe this year. So at what point do the insurers stop insuring the farms and the farmers? At that point, everything you buy is going to exponentially rise in price, because if they can't insure their crops, they're going to charge more for it. Second paragraph says, similar situation in parts of the US and Europe with the potato losses. That's why your French fries are shorter. So I actually consider the potato as the canary in the grand solar minimum electromagnetic mine, if you will. United Potato Growers of Canada say this is unprecedented, never heard or seen of this ever before. Yet the fourth National Climate Assessment from the U.S. government doesn't even talk about solar activity, not even talking about sunspots or anything related to the sun affecting climate on Earth. But I'm glad there are several other astrophysicists out there talking about it. So this is your forecast. And the lower we descend along the line into decreased activity, the more of this we're going to see in our atmosphere: jet streams, crop losses, food price increases, social instability, population migration. And we're just in the first couple years of this. Wait until it gets really intense like 2025. We have the forecast going out, and wherever you're looking, everybody's saying the same thing that studies the sun on one end of it. Yet the paid-for, bought, funded scientists feeding the IPCC with information are saying, oh, this dip over here, this massive dip that brings us back 400 years since the last time we saw this dip in solar activity. Oh, it doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. It's only going to run, it's nothing. It's going to decrease temperatures by like 0.2 of a degree, man. Well, it's something. No, in actuality, it's going to be decreasing global temperatures between 2 and 3 degrees Celsius. And for those institutions to come out and say, that sun, which is 1.2 million times larger than our Earth, we're way over on the left, behind Jupiter, down to the bottom. You can barely even see that. It's a pin dot comparatively. That the magnetic fields in the sun and the electromagnetic connections from that sun to our Earth literally have no connection and no effect on our planet's weather systems. We need to have a serious revamp of how science is discussed. Fourth National Climate Assessment, agriculture, global cooling and grand solar minimum, drought, wildfire. Everything you're seeing right now can be explained through declining solar activity. I encourage you to take a look at Sven's Mark the Cloud Mystery, and also atmospheric structures in the global electric circuit. If you're unfamiliar with that, this is going to be an amazing read. Your mind is going to blast wide open, and you will not sleep for days chasing these leads down and the information brought to you that's going to be so new. And you will ask yourself, for 15 or 20 years, they haven't told us about this, and our crops are failing now when they knew 20, 25 years ago what's happening. And the media will have you believe that this image that you're seeing here is reality, that everything is so stable. It's a rosy sunset, perfect cocktails, margaritas on the beach. Keep going to work, keep paying your taxes. Oh, add in a CO2 global consumption tax too, and keep investing. And please don't pull your money out, because that'll crash the system if everybody tries to get ready for the grand solar minimum at the exact same time. And as we progress down the transition phase from normal stability in our society into, well, flux, if you will. You know, again, it's not my channel, it's our channel. I wanted to start to bring to you more the economic side of it, the social constructs that are going to start to unravel at the threads, the population migration, because there's always a fingerprint that accompanies this grand solar minimum. We see the same things in history, 1600s, 1300s, 800 AD, 400 AD, 400 BC, 1100 BC. We see the exact same things happening. So I wanted to start to highlight more than just the weather changes we're seeing, because that's a constant. We know it's happening now. But what moves in the economy? What moves in population? How does this affect your life? Thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. If you'd like this type of information in 30 minutes at a time on the go, Mini Ice Age Conversations podcast, anywhere You can find a podcast hosted across the net, as well as Thursday nights, 10 p.m. to midnight, Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, Studio A. A couple of hours of dialogue about how all of these changes are going to affect your life starting last year, not now.